Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 and our chats with Emily as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are in the Johnson edition. We turn out to poem 773, Deprived of Other Banquet. Now, this is an interesting poem. Some have gestured at the possibility that the banquet being referenced here is Emily's understanding of the significance of the sacrament called the Lord's Supper. I'm going to leave to you to decide how you read or define this understanding of banquet. But for sure, we know that we're back to territory we're familiar with. You guys will remember 439. Undue significance a starving man attaches to food. Far off he sighs, and therefore hopeless, and therefore good. Partaken, it relieves indeed, but proves us that spices fly in the receipt. It was the distance was savory. You'll remember when we did 579, I had been hungry all the years. My noon had come to dine. I trembling drew the table near and touched the curious wine. 'Twas this on tables I had seen when, turning hungry home, I looked on windows for the wealth I could not hope for mine. I did not know the ample bread, 'twas so unlike the crumb the birds and I had often shared in nature's dining room. We'll get to birds, obviously, in this poem as well, of 773. The plenty hurt me, 'twas so new myself felt ill and odd as berry of a mountain bush transplanted to the road. Nor was I hungry, so I found that hunger was a way of persons outside windows, the entering takes away. Now, our assumption is that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net, down that left-hand side. Chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hopeful that you've worked through our set of introductory comments as well as the preceding 772 poems. We just finished with the Hollowing of Pain, and that final line, all is the price of all. Certainly the idea of Emily struggling, if not struggling, coming to terms with deprivation of some kind or another, makes sense with that line, all is the price of all. And again, as we pointed out, the scholar Wolfe has even said that this is a faint, ghoulish echo of the Lord's Supper in this poem about banquets. By the way, Emily will mention banquets in 6 of her poems. Deprived of other banquet, I entertained myself. At first, a scant nutrition, an insufficient loaf, but grown by slender addings to so esteemed a size, 'tis sumptuous enough for me, and almost to suffice a robin's famine able. Red pilgrim he and I, a berry from our table, reserved for charity. Now, we have made the argument that one of the most central motifs of Emily's work is the journey motif. She was raised with Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress. She loved the idea of the Odyssey. She loved the idea of the journey motif in Dante. And here she's going to make the argument that in the end, she had to become self-sufficient in her work. Now, many have read this as the work of being a poet. Notice she says deprived of other banquet. In other words, publishing, being read, being understood by those readers that a normal poet would have. She said, I had to entertain myself. Not lost on us, of course, that her contemporary is Walt Whitman, whose most famous poem was what? Song of Myself. We've given full lectures at learnstrong.net. That series we call Talks with Walt, and we did all of the poems of the deathbed edition of Leaves of Grass. Here, Emily's saying, I ultimately didn't have that level of banquet. So I had to learn how to rely on myself. Notice, entertain myself. And then she'll go through staging. At first, this work of being alone, and of course, we've never called Emily a recluse. Many have. But she certainly withdrew from the world, no doubt. She says at first, a scant nutrition, an insufficient loaf. Notice loaf capitalized. In other words, at the very beginning, she said there wasn't much going on there. But she says grown, and I think that's the key word of the poem, by slender addings. It's interesting she would use the word slender, given that her poems are slender in profound ways. They're deep but slender, we might say. To so esteemed a size, 'tis sumptuous enough for me. Again, back to this notion that Emerson will call self-reliance, no doubt. And almost to suffice, a robin's famine able. And then she'll call that robin a red pilgrim. You will remember this from use of pilgrim from poem 35 and 101. And back then we made the observation, Emily maybe saw herself as a pilgrim of a kind, identifying with the bird. Much like Hardy's darkling thrush, that has nothing to eat in the middle of the winter. He and I, notice she joins together, a berry from our table. Of course, berry taking us again back to the 579 reading. A berry from our table reserved for charity. In other words, I was able, she said, to have enough that I would periodically be able to even share my stuff. And if she's talking about her poetry, that's probably through the letters predominantly that she shared so much of these poems with. I think the message here at 2A is that sometimes all you can do as an artist is to rely or entertain yourself. That's it, rely on yourself. I think at 2B, well, the images of food and starvation versus nutrition are fascinating, and her identification, of course, with the bird. At 3A, when we mention Pilgrim's Progress, I think it's one of the most important titles that stands behind so much of Emily's work. We mentioned, obviously, Emerson's Self-Reliance, and of course, think about Thoreau's classic in his journey to Walden for 2 years. I went to the woods, he says, what in Walden? Because I wish to live what? Deliberately. It's the same message that's being played here. We've given full lectures at learnstrong.net if you're interested in Walden. Finally, at 3B, to own a text like this, when was a time you had to rely on yourself, when you had to entertain yourself, and all you could do was hope to grow from that? Thank you.